John Roberts on the phone inside. There's a man on stage inside that arena that's being handled. John Roberts, what's going on?
Hey, Greta, good evening to you. I actually flew up from St. Louis on Donald Trump's airplane and landed here in Chicago a little more than an hour ago. He was having a big rally at the University of Illinois in Chicago in the big pavilion here. He had told me on the plane on the way up that he had heard that perhaps it was going to be some trouble, that perhaps it was going to be nasty. He also heard that there was as many as 30,000 people were going to attend. And indeed, as we walked into the venue tonight, the building itself was nearly full, and there were thousands of people who were wrapped around the block. Protesters on one side of the street, people who wanted to come and see Donald Trump on the other. So it's obvious that Trump, for safety reasons, believed that it was better if he did not hold the rally. So there was an announcement made about 15 minutes ago, that he had decided for safety reasons that he was going to postpone this rally. And the place is literally and absolutely, Greta, erupted in chaos. There were many protesters who were in the crowd, who are obviously waiting for their chance to come out and protest against Donald Trump. There are thousands of supporters here in the building as well. When it was announced that he was not going to participate in the rally, the protesters decided that they were going to make themselves heard, started running around the floor of the arena. They are now being confronted by his supporters. And so far, it seems fairly peaceful, still awfully noisy. Chicago police have moved in here to the floor, Greta, so we're just watching as this all unfolds.
All right, so if I have this correct, John, is that there are actually protesters inside the arena with the supporters. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, and there always are. It's just about every Trump rally. There are plenty of supporters who are inside the building. Certainly at his event in St. Louis, there were a number of protesters at the Peabody Opera House. They actually interrupted his event for about 10, almost 15 minutes. Some 25 of them had linked arms and were refusing to be taken to the building. Donald Trump admonished the crowd to treat them gently, implored the police to come and remove them. It took a while, but they finally did get the protesters out of the building, and that was done peacefully. But what's happening right now here on the floor of this pavilion at the University of Illinois in Chicago really is quite interesting. Is everybody, whether they're protesting Donald Trump or whether they're supporting Donald Trump, making themselves heard simultaneously. It's just a cacophony of slogans and chants that we're hearing here, Greta. But again, so far, everything is peaceful. Let's hope it stays that way.
John, are people starting to leave the arena now that it's canceled? I mean, it's hard to tell from here looking at these live pictures. It almost looks like people are remaining in place.
Well, certainly a lot of people who were in their seats are now down on the floor. There are some people that seem to be making their way up toward the mezzanine and making their way to the exits. But at the moment, people are just kind of either participating on the floor or watching from their seats to see how this is going to unfold. But again, Donald Trump told me on the plane on the way up here that he had heard that there was perhaps going to be some difficulties here. So he was wary of this coming in. So it's while it's a shock that he has canceled an event, given the intel that he had coming into this, it's not exactly surprising for us.
Well, now we're seeing some pictures of some pushing and shoving inside the arena. Outside, it actually looks relatively peaceful, but are you seeing this pushing and shoving inside?
Yeah, that's in front of the stage. I was in the back of the arena. Let me go around to the front of the stage and see what I can see. Clearly, passions run very high on both sides when you're talking about Donald Trump. So there's a little bit of pushing and shoving as the people who are trying to make themselves heard, try to get above the noise that the other crowd is making. You can imagine that there would be a little bit of physical contact. But again, from my vantage point, even though there's a little bit of pushing and shoving, it does seem to be as though there's no altercations of any kind have broken out yet. And they are just moving around the floor here, trying to gain position, trying to make themselves heard. But no evidence of any kind of violent disturbance at this point, Greta.
Wow. Well, I just saw a punch being thrown right now, so you may not see violence, but we got a camera shot of a punch. There's a police officer there on the scene who is very capably moving in there. Good for that police officer to defuse that situation.
Well, if you saw a punch being thrown, that's more than I've seen, but I don't exactly have a 360-degree vantage point from where I am, Greta, so forgive me if I missed that one punch being thrown.
I saw the punch being thrown. Obviously, it didn't look like it connected, which was the good news. All right, John, do you have any sense of who the protesters are in this? Do they have a particular beef, or is it just anti-Donald Trump?
A lot of it is general anti-Donald Trump. The people who are holding up signs that say Trump equals fascist. There are obviously a lot of representatives from Black Lives Matter in the crowd as well. They tend to be out at his events in force. But there are far more people who are on the pro-Trump side who are facing off with these protesters. I see vets for Trump, people from all walks of life, all ages. There's one person up there who's holding another racist Trump sign. Again, he is such a polarizing figure that every one of his, there are people from both sides who are suggesting that they want their views heard and do whatever it takes to get them heard. And I don't know if I can remember a Donald Trump event that hasn't been interrupted at some point by protest.
Well, just to tell viewers who may be tuning in, this is in Chicago. We have a split screen. On the right is outside the venue at the University of Illinois, Chicago, where Donald Trump was supposed to have an event tonight. On the other side of the screen is inside. Our John Roberts is in there. He's been traveling with Donald Trump. The event has now been canceled for security reasons. It looks, I mean, for the most part, it looks pretty peaceful. John, what's the police presence there?
There are probably a few hundred police. We actually we made our way to the airport on ourselves because Donald Trump had to go conduct some business at his hotel. And as we rolled up, we were stopped by a roadblock and actually had to walk the remaining couple of blocks to get here to the pavilion at the University of Illinois. And there were thousands of people out in the streets, and there was a significant police presence that was out of the streets as well. They have a mounted unit for the Chicago police held in reserve outside. Clearly, they were expecting that there could potentially be trouble with this. I imagine, Greta, the combination of Donald Trump, a university crowd, being in such a racially mixed city as Chicago, there really were a lot of ingredients here for some potential sort of conflagration. And while it hasn't erupted into anything violent at this point, other than receiving a bunch of certainly it's awfully noisy. We're coming on the PA. Let me see if I can hear it. I'm sorry, Greta, I missed the PA announcement, but they are encouraging people to leave the building. The police thus far has just remained sort of in a standoffish posture. They're watching the crowd, but I believe that they would obviously be ready at a moment's notice to move in.
Well, John, what's sort of frightening a little bit from our perspective watching this is that when the crowd inside, for the most part, Donald Trump's supporters, leave the building, they're going to run into the people who are protesting Donald Trump. They've got to walk right past each other.
And well, they've already been. They're saying that the venue is closed, and they're asking people to leave the building. And many people are leaving the building. I got to tell you, Greta, as I was coming in, walking along the streets to get into the pavilion tonight, there were thousands of people who were wrapped around the block waiting to get in, but there was a large group of protesters who were camped out across the street, making a lot of noise, waving signs. So these two crowds have already been in proximity of each other. It is possible, though, that as they all exit the building at the same time, that there could potentially be some confrontation on the street. See if we can get a better vantage point on that.
Well, it's certainly. I mean, look. I mean, right now, I got to. The good news is we haven't seen anything horrible. The bad news is that. We all fear the worst, that it'll get volatile. Someone will start something and cause problems. Where's Donald Trump now, John?
I'm sorry, Greta, say it again.
Where is Donald Trump now?
He is at his hotel. He's at the Trump Hotel.
And what are his plans? He's not going to do this event tonight. Where does he go from here?
He is leaving from here to go to Ohio tomorrow. And as you can imagine, with those 5 big contests coming up on Tuesday, he wants to hit as many states as possible. I can't pull up his full schedule off the top of my head, but I do know that he's going to Ohio tomorrow. He's going back to Illinois. He'll be in Florida, I believe, on Sunday afternoon for his rally in Boca Raton. So that's about all I can remember off the top of my head at this point. But clearly, Greta, he wants to hit as many of these 5 states as he possibly can in the closing hours before those big winner-take-all contests on Tuesday.
John, how does this compare to the other venues where you've seen protests of Donald Trump?
There are more here than I have seen. Now, I have to be honest with you to say that I've not been to every Donald Trump event, but I've been to plenty. And usually there are a handful of protesters, maybe numbering, depending on the size of the venue, anywhere from 25 to 50. But tonight it seemed like there was going to be hundreds. And the Chicago police now moving onto the floor to try to clear everybody out. They're just standing back. They're coming down the stairs here in the seats. They're just kind of waiting at the edge here and now slowly making their way onto the floor where they will try to clear people out. It's really remarkable that as noisy as the protests have been, Greta, that they have remained, for the most part, peaceful, because you had real potential here with the passions running as high as they do on either side of this Trump campaign, or there could be confrontation that turn violent, but so far that has not happened. And now with the police entering the floor, people do seem to be dispersed. What happens outside, though, as you mentioned, Greta, may be another matter.
Well, we have an official statement from the Trump campaign. I'll read it to you, John. Statement regarding Trump campaign Chicago rally postponement. Mr. Trump just arrived in Chicago and after meeting with law enforcement has determined that for the safety of all of the tens of thousands of people that have gathered in and around the arena, tonight's rally will be postponed to another date. Thank you very much for your attendance, and please go in peace. Rather short announcement from the campaign, but obviously trying, I guess, a little bit to put the lid on it. Go in peace was the end of the note.
And I can understand, too, Greta, why they were concerned, because as full as this building was, and they were still letting people in, there were thousands of people who were out on the streets who were not going to get in. I don't have an accurate count. I don't know if it was 3,000 or 5,000 or 10,000, because we were rushing to get in here to the venue, but I can tell you that the line of people waiting to get into this pavilion tonight at the University of Illinois Chicago was wrapped around the block, and that would have to comprise a group of probably several thousand people trying to get into the venue who likely would not have been able to get in, because this building holds a little more than 9,900, or a little more than 9,000. I'm not sure if it's 9,900, but it holds somewhere between 9,000 and 10,000. You put another couple of thousand people on the floor, you've got about 11,000. There was no way all those people who were outside were ever going to get in. So then you had the potential that they would be upset and angry and, being taunted by protesters. Maybe there was an opportunity there for some sort of confrontation. So I think the police probably made the wise choice. But I got to tell you, Greta, and all the time that I've been covering politics, and I will tell you that I have not seen every rally that's ever happened, but I've never seen this happen before. I've never seen a candidate cancel an event.
John, two questions. One is, it looks like on the left-hand side of the screen where we're looking at the arena, a lot of orange seats that are empty. It looks like people are getting out. About what percentage of the arena has now emptied? That's the first question. The second question is, what's the weather like outside for the protesters? Because protesters, if it's really cold and rainy, are less likely to stay than if it's really nice.
It's actually very nice weather outside, Greta. There would be nothing that would prevent protesters from hanging probably for the rest of the night. Now here's the thing, though, is that they came here to express their displeasure with Donald Trump, not necessarily each other. And while people on either side of this campaign and the Donald Trump candidacy definitely would have reason to state their views, there's no real reason for them to get into any kind of serious mix-up with each other. If you're protesting a person and that person doesn't show up, there's really no reason to hang around. So I would expect that, there may be some taunts thrown back and forth outside, but eventually they'll probably disperse and go about their business and finish off their Friday night, albeit with a kind of a raucous send-off into the evening.
Well, it does look, and you can't see the outside, but from the aerials, it looks like people are starting to thin out. They're moving. It doesn't look so much, at least from my viewpoint, that they are static in the sense that they're staying around to cause problems. So it sure looks like an awful lot of people outside that venue, but now that the inside is beginning to empty, that obviously contributes to that the crowded look outside.
Hey, Greta, I think we're trying to actually get our camera up, and I don't know if we have it up yet or not. Maybe your producers can tell me if they see our shot. So we've been trying to get this up visually. Getting a signal out of here is a little bit difficult because there were so many people who were really kind of blasting the cell. So I don't know if you can see me on camera yet or not.
I can't see you on camera yet, John. John, is the arena empty now?
The floor is for the most part empty. The seats are for the most part empty. There's a few stragglers. and again, the Chicago police right in front of me urging people to leave. It really does look like this is settling down, Greta, at this point. There's a few hangers on. Most people who are left here are still Donald Trump fans, so most of the protesters are out of the street at this point, Greta. So it looks like they've avoided anything ugly here at this pavilion this evening.